Hi, Simon Jarrett for Kingsley Amplifiers again, and as part of this pedal platter number 4 video, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Hatchet pedal. This is a new custom pedal that we're offering. It'll probably make it into the main line sooner or later, but right now it's a custom build. And as I mentioned in pedal platter number 3, the Hatchet is a valve phase splitter in a pedal. Now, what's a phase splitter all about? Well, a phase splitter is part of a push-pull power amplifier. If you take a typical guitar amplifier, like a Vox AC30 or a Fender Twin or a Marshall Plexi amp, you have the preamp and then you have the power amp. Part of the power amp is the power tubes and the output transformer, and another part is the phase splitter. And the phase splitter plays a large role in the sound and particularly in the amount of overdrive generated by that guitar amplifier when you really crank it up loud. So when you turn up a Marshall Plexi, when you dime the volume and you get all that saturation, a large part of that clipping is actually coming from the phase inverter tube or the phase splitter tube in the amplifier. So first of all, I should say that the Hatchet is not designed for other pedals in general. It's not designed, for example, to be pushed by overdrive pedals or boosts or compressors and things like that. This particular pedal is really all about being driven by high output valve guitar preamplifiers, like the ones that we at Kingsley make. For example, from our range, I would say the Constable, the Maiden, the Squire, the Juggler. There might be a couple of others. Maybe say also a good one is the Page TS when it's in preamp mode. So the idea is you take your Kingsley preamp or other high output preamp, you plug it into the Hatchet, and you turn the master on your preamplifier up really high such that it starts to clip the valve in this pedal, and it'll do it just like it does in a classic guitar amplifier. You've got controls for tone, for volume, and a phase switch. Why the phase switch? Well, part of the phase splitter design in a guitar amplifier, it's there because it splits the phase. It splits your signal into two halves. One is out of phase and one is in phase. They drive two halves of the push-pull power amplifier, which are summed into a mono signal through the output transformer, which then drives the speaker cabinet. Now, we're not dealing with power tubes and output transformers, so we only need one of its outputs. So you can select whether you want the in-phase output or the out-of-phase output. Okay, so possible applications. Now, if you've got, say, a high output preamplifier and you drive the Hatchet, you can then run from the Hatchet into effects like delay and reverb. You can then introduce the signal into a power amplifier, or indeed into the front of an amplifier, like in front of a typical guitar amplifier, let's say like a deluxe reverb, for example. The tone control allows you to fine-tune the top end, and the volume allows you to keep the output in check so you don't overdrive the input of your amp, or indeed the input of your effects that come after the Hatchet. Another application would be for use with cabinet simulators or for direct rigs and for recording. So there are a few applications. But one of the main takeaways about this particular pedal is I designed it very much to go hand in hand with the preamplifiers that we make. It's not designed to go hand in hand with typical overdrives, boosts, compressors. Even a lot of other preamps on the market don't have a really hot output. The reason our preamps have that very hot output is because our preamps are very much designed along the lines of the actual designs in the amplifiers they're based on. And if you look at the output of a preamplifier in a Marshall Plexi, it has a very hot output on tap. So we can access that hot output from the Constable, drive this super hard, and get that Marshall Plexi style drive. So that's it in a nutshell, and I'll demo it with a couple of different preamps today. Thanks very much. Okay, so here we are with the 335, and let's start with the Constable on the Bassman side, driving the Hatchet and going off to the power amps. So here's what we have. Alright, so let's go to the JTM45 side. Let's add a little bit of delay on that. Okay, so now let's try a different preamp. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the Page TS. First of all, let's just listen to the Page TS in preamp mode, not driving the Hatchet, just on its own. Now, the Page TS, when used as a preamp, it's first and foremost a front of amp pedal, but it also has this preamp mode, and that's what it sounds like on its own, just with some delay going into the power amps. I've got the gain fairly high, so it's breaking up already. If you were to use the Page TS as a clean preamp, it doesn't have as much bass and treble and as much kind of openness as the dedicated clean pedals, things like the Maiden, the Juggler, the Squire, or even the Constable. But for this kind of like almost like a JTM 45-ish kind of overdrive, it's quite nice. So if you want to use the Page TS as a preamp, I would say that's its forte, is mild to medium breakup, and sort of it's not really a JTM 45 circuit, but something along those lines. Yeah, so now let's use it to drive the Hatchet. Now, just turning on the Hatchet won't add any gain or anything. You have to really hit the Hatchet hard. So right now it's quiet because I had to attenuate the Hatchet when I pushed it hard with the Constable. So I'm going to raise the master on the Page TS. So the Page TS works quite well there. It pushes the Hatchet really nice. As a comparison, I'll turn the Page TS off and we'll go to the Constable JTM45 side. Once again, the Page TS. Now let's try this. What we'll do is we'll turn the Maiden BF on. So here's the Maiden BF on its own. This is the clean sounds. So that's the Maiden BF. Now I'm going to turn on the Constable JTM into the Hatchet, into the Maiden BF. So this way you can think of it as a front of amp approach. I'll have to attenuate the volume on the Hatchet and the tone because it'll be quite bright because I'm running through another preamp. It'll be like running through the front end of an amp. So here's the Page TS into the Hatchet, Maiden BF. So now let's try this. What we'll do is we'll go Mason into the Page TS and preamp, pushing the Hatchet, and then all going into the Maiden BF.